All right. Hello, CHFFL, and any other viewers we may have. Welcome to our Week 4 update podcast for CHFFL's 2014-2015 season. Sorry we missed you last week. I was pretty busy and never really had time to set it up, but we're going to jump in. First, we're going to look at what the standings are right now and how everyone's been doing the past couple of weeks, and then we're going to discuss all those trades that went down between weeks 3 and 4. So just to get right into it, I have prepared a little presentation with my thoughts on how all these trades will affect the teams that participated. So just a second. Here we go. All right, so checking out the league standings. We'll see in the Back Roads Conference, Swan and Ryan have jumped out to a tie for first place, both at 3-1. Over in Moninger, Minnie has jumped out to an impressive 4-0 start, leading that division over Mark. I'd like to call to everyone's attention, though, the points scored for the teams in each league. You'll see that every team in the Back Roads Conference is outscoring 5 out of 6 of the Moninger teams. So whereas last year I think Moninger was definitely the stronger conference, this year it seems like the Back Road is starting out a lot stronger. So Minnie has that 4-0 perfect record, the only one in the league so far, but he's still under 400 points after 4 weeks. So maybe still looking to improve that team a little bit. So let's talk about all these trades that happened on September 24th and a couple days after. We had 5 in total that happened right after each other. Parker was in 3. Marty and Mark were each in 2 of them. And this is after no trades had been completed at all for the first 3 weeks of the season and all of preseason. So this all started with Parker and I making a trade where he gave up Jimmy Graham, Arian Foster, Alfred Blue, and Steven Jackson for my Julian Edelman, Victor Cruz, Brandon Cooks, and Bobby Rainey. And this all started because Dennis Pitta went down on the IR, so I reached out to Parker to see if he'd be willing to consider giving Jimmy Graham up. And we were able to make this deal happen, and I think we'll have to see over time how this plays out for both of us. And it really is dependent on if Foster has the value Parker drafted him with, or if this hamstring is going to keep being a big issue for him going forward. After this trade, Parker went and traded Wes Kelvin Benjamin for Wes's Jordan Cameron and Alan Hearns. And I understand that Parker wanted to replace Jimmy Graham quickly, but I think this was a bit of a misfire. Parker dropped Hearns immediately after picking him up, and I think that he's going to miss Benjamin. He picked up 3 startable receivers from me, but he now only has those 3, especially since the third trade Parker made, you'll see right below with Marty, he gives up Vincent Jackson along with Darren McFadden and Stephen Ridley for Sammy Watkins, Larry Fitzgerald, and Wes Welker. So I think that second trade is a loss for Parker. The third trade is very interesting for both he and Marty. Parker's gaining here, Watkins, Fitzgerald, and Welker are all guys that either because they were suspended or just not doing what you thought have underperformed to this point. So I kind of like that third trade for Parker as he's gaining a lot of upside in the long term. Overall, though, Parker gave up pretty much all of his worthwhile running backs. And I think that's really going to hurt him until he's able to improve that running back position. I saw he picked up Isaiah Crawley from Cleveland, but Ben Tate's coming back, so Tate's starting today. I think Parker's going to have a little bit of a rough patch after he made all of these trades until his running back situation can improve. Take some time if you want to view over all my notes here. I'm not going to just read them off. I'd like to get through all these trades. So let's look at the trades Marty made. The first one I already went over. he traded Parker, all of those guys that weren't quite doing it for him, for some running back stability, and Vincent Jackson, who Marty might have valued pretty high in the long run. I don't know. And then he traded Chris Ivory. He got Mark's Chris Ivory and Mike Wallace for his Frank Gore and Steve Smith. I think this was sort of panic mode for Marty. You know, he was 0-3, probably was frustrated with his guys that weren't doing what he thought they would do when he drafted him. With the benefit of hindsight, since we've already seen how week 4 played out, Steve Smith went completely off. So giving Steve Smith up to Mark was probably something that Marty thinks he regrets right now. I actually don't think that Marty was a loser too much in these trades. He gained running back depth from Parker, even if he has guys that maybe aren't going to be his full time now. I also think that by the end of the year, Chris Ivory could be better than Frank Gore. Just San Francisco hasn't looked as hot as everybody thought they would. In the meantime, though, Ivory is in that running back by committee with Chris Johnson. So it's going to take a while for this to pay out for Marty, if it does. And I really think he might have bailed too early on Fitzgerald, especially, and Wes Welker. They both could be really good guys for him. He won this past week with the second fewest points in the league, mind you, but hopefully things start turning around for Marty pretty soon, because he hasn't been looking very good. All right, so last we want to talk about Mark. He made that trade with Marty, Frank Gore and Steve Smith for Ivory and Wallace. He also made a trade with Minnie, straight up Monte Ball for Reggie Wayne. I think these trades for Mark, without a doubt, is the strongest team right now in the Monitor Conference. He has the most points by far, and I think every week he's going in thinking he's pretty good. This is what championship teams do, though. Just because he's currently the strongest in his conference doesn't mean he's sitting back. I think these are maintenance moves for him. He might have liked Frank Gore better than Chris Ivory. I mean, obviously trading for Smith, he looks like a genius after Smith went off this past Sunday. And I don't know. I think Reggie Wayne, Monte Ball, that's pretty even, just who you like better. I think this is just a sign that Mark is staying active, and this is the thing that makes him competitive every year, is that he makes these types of trades. So on to everybody else. Looking at what I did, I made that trade with Parker. After that trade, I'm now left with way more running backs than wide receivers. So I think it can only be a win for me if I'm able to move some of that running back depth off my bench. Right now I have Sankey, Steven Jackson, and Toby Gerhart all sitting on my bench. Those are, even if they're not your favorite guys, those are 3 top 30 running backs pretty much every week. They should be starting in our league, and they're all sitting on my bench. So I need to be able to make a move on that pretty quickly. Wes, I think, made a huge win getting Kelvin Benjamin from Parker. He gave up Jordan Cameron and Alan Hearns. Wasn't going to start Hearns anytime soon. Cameron was his second tight end, and I think Benjamin is a very good wide receiver to have right now. I think Parker really regrets that trade, and I think Wes is looking like one of the best teams in the league overall right now. He's at 1-3, but really, if you focus on how he's done and what his players have done, I think if you're playing Wes from week to week, you don't have an easy week that week, definitely. Minnie, I think, I know I said from Mark's standpoint that the trade was a wash, Reggie Wayne for a Monte Ball, but if you go in and look at Minnie's roster, I think he's going to miss having the running back, even if he likes Wayne a little more as a flex play. He's starting Helu now, and I don't think he's going to like having the loss at running back over having the gain at wide receiver. So those are my thoughts just on all of those trades. A couple more quick updates that were on the league page. I don't know why my video is off here, but Hopefully you'll see me pretty soon. We have 2 new policy issues. One, I'm going to start pushing trades through as they are brought up to me. 2, I want to clarify that even though we have all these new participation standards, if you have a play where you're going into Monday night, you're winning, and your opponent either doesn't have a lot going or has nothing going, and you think it would be better to sit your last guy, especially if it's a defense special teams, you can sit them and leave an empty spot. I don't see any need to penalize players for making that move. I think that's a legitimate move. I'm really sorry I don't have video right now. I don't know what's happening with this. But that's the end of my spiel here. One final note, everybody try and stay really active, communicate well. I think there are a few frustrated owners right now that are having a hard time making trades because of unresponsiveness on the part of whoever they're dealing with. I know I've noticed it too. I mean, it only takes a couple seconds to check your phone, check the page, see what you think, counter offer. Just try and stay really active. I'm really impressed with how a lot of teams are doing this year. And it's just a few that I think could be putting a little more time into it. That's all I have for this week, though. Good luck, everybody, finishing up week 5 here, and we'll see you again soon.